Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. My name is Maddie. I am the host of Truth Matters podcast. I am partnering with Lisa Gunshore to introduce the Quantum Feminine Conference actually this weekend. We're getting close. So thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I'm here today with April Megginson. April is one of the speakers for the event, and she will be introducing us to her topic during this interview, as well as giving us a little bit of a background as to who she is. So thanks for being here, April. I'm really excited to get talking.
Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to just meet you and connect with you. I've seen some videos that you've been in on YouTube, and I feel like we have a lot of these mutual connections, so it's really fun to finally be able to meet and do an interview. So I'm excited.
I know, I love it. So good.
It's awesome. Okay, so April, tell us a little bit about who you are. I know that you are a certified yoga therapist as well as life coach. So give us a little background as to who you are in whatever way you'd like to. Then we'll get into your topic a little bit more.
Okay, great. So I was one of the first 500 yoga therapists, I guess, in the world. It's a new kind of, it's only about 6 or 7 years old. But it's more of it's such a big topic. But anyway, what I do is I teach group classes online, and then I also do a lot of private sessions, and I mix everything together. I've found that the best way to connect is through the physical body, because everyone's got a leg. Hopefully, everyone's got a torso. Yeah. That much is true, right? So, it's just really interesting because all layers are accessed through the physical body, which has been really, really interesting to uncover in myself. So I just lead everyone where I've gone very recently myself. So a lot of pain patterns start to change or dissipate very quickly. And, I work very, very much, very deeply with neuroplasticity and dissolving habits of posture, but really the habits are in our minds. They're not often in our bodies. Mm-hmm. So working with clenching, working with good posture, which is not what we think it is. Deeply working with fascia, which I've been doing for quite a long time. And then also on the mental, emotional level, I have that certified life coach piece as well. And also certified NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming. It's just this quantum language form that really very quickly and efficiently deletes and dissolves these long-held beliefs and patterns and all of that. So my quest in my life is really ongoing, and it's how we can heal on a quantum level very quickly. It's this idea that it takes a long time to heal, and that's not true. It happens in an instant. So it's been really interesting. And the deeper I get into my work, the more I find my own cells healing and aligning and connecting, and, our cells in our bodies where our true treasure is. And, the more I do that within myself, the more effortless it becomes with other people. And I'm, having 1 or 2 sessions with people, and they're telling me like, oh, the pain in my leg that's been there for 2 years is totally gone after one time working with you. And that's because what they're doing is I'm just pointing to their healing mechanisms, that are so profound within our own bodies. And, we just got to get out of our own ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really like how you're really pointing to the fact that so many things can be uncovered through that contact and communication with our body. And I would assume that you would also say, in terms of emotions, in terms of mental patterns, and like you're saying, we can break up those habits and patterns through connecting deeper with our physical body. And I think that that's a really important thing to start introducing to humanity, that everything is connected. And I think anyone who has embarked on a healing journey in some way can attest to the fact that, if you look at something in your body, it's also going to address something in your mind. Or if you start to do some emotional work or some work with trauma to try to heal that, you're going to notice changes in your body. It's really interesting how everything's, everything is connected in that way. Would you agree?
Well, even yes, and I would take it a step further even, and I would say that it's the same thing. It's not even connected, it's the same thing. So when I work with fascia, and there's actually a lot of scientific studies being done on fascia right now, and how fascia, our connective tissue, is the seat of our consciousness. So in that, we have myofascial layers that wrap around everything. And I go into a lot to fascia. I've got a video on my YouTube about fascia. I've got an interview with Lisa and Deanna of Block Therapy about fascia. So I won't go into that too much now. But yeah, it's the same thing. When you work in fascia, you unlock deep memories. They just blossom to the surface like, little bubbles. And then you can also really access deep emotion as well that's trapped in the fascial layers. So you might have some type of emotional release and nothing triggered it from the outside. What's happening is it got trapped in your cells. And that release happens when you dive deep into your body. And it's profound. I mean, it's not dramatic. And that's the thing, is we kind of have to get away from this idea that things have to be so dramatic all the time. Drama is just a cycle too. And it's really interesting because when I work with people, whether it's on the emotional or mental or physical level, which is all the same thing, I'll ask them, let's say it's physical. How's your knee doing? My knee? What was wrong with my knee? Oh, it's good. And then same thing with long held beliefs and these patterns that keep us stuck mentally and emotionally. I'll say, how are you feeling? How's everything going? Actually pretty good. It's this thing where it's not this dramatic, like huge, and it's dramatic in the fact that it's dissolving things away. But once something dissolves, that hook isn't there anymore, so you don't even really notice it in an interesting way. Hi everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone. We see Tracy and Lisa. Woo. That's the beauty of doing lives. It really connects us all in a different way. It's really fun.
So great. It's so great.
It's so great. I like that you said that. I think there are a lot of different connotations to what it means to work on ourselves, whether that's physically, mentally, or spiritually. And in some cases, it might be more intense. Maybe there is a little bit more drama to it, I guess, from our own, interpretation. But like you said, not everything is going to be like that. And I'm really happy to hear that in your work and experience with people, they have kind of had those realizations or have made progress in a way that's kind of just like, it's simple. It's not always dramatic. I think that's good that you are pointing that out.
Yes, it really is. The true healing is not dramatic in the story sense of things. If you are on the outside looking in, it's dramatic because this person has shifted so much, but the person themselves don't really know, because what's going on is they're coming back to remembering who they truly are. That it's not about adding stuff. Adding stuff, a lot of times we think about healing as like, oh my gosh, I got healed. Well, that's just adding something on. It's like becoming more and more of who you are. So it's just feels more and more and more natural. It doesn't have that drama effect of like, and again, on the outside looking in, it's very dramatic because you're like, whoa, that person didn't go into their cycle, or whoa, that pain is really actually gone, like it's dissolved. But for the person, it's again remembering who they are and coming into who they truly are, which feels far more natural than the cycle does.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of explaining that it's the story maybe of the pain, or the story that we've attributed to our lives, or that we've identified with, right, falsely, that's dramatic. But the healing, that's the simple part. That's the easy part. That's the clarity. So that's a big contrast to the way that most of us have lived our lives, identifying with our experiences maybe too much or unnecessarily. And that causes a lot of pain, right? Is that identification with the drama. So that's good. It's good to have that clarity that comes through healing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That kind of is a good little segue just to talk about your topic a little bit, effortless effort. So can you kind of explain what's your interpretation of that?
Oh, that's pretty much what I do on a daily
Yeah.
basis. Just like you said, I mean,
Mhm.
healing is actually very simple when we get out of our own ways. And again,
Mhm.
this ties in so deeply with the quantum feminine. And
Yeah.
you know, I love that Lisa named it that, because it is quantum, meaning instantaneous,
Oh,
and
mhm.
the feminine way of holding it all. You know, I was telling a group last week, you know, the more I traverse upon this planet, the more I realize we're here. We're all, again, it goes back to that big drama thing. Oh, what's my life purpose? Oh my gosh, I don't know my life purpose. Oh, I'm not aligned in my life. Okay, that's all very masculine and striving, which has its place, right?
Yeah.
We want to have that have its place. However, when I have started to realize I'm here to experience as a divine spark
Mhm.
everything. And that means that nothing is really bad, good, you know, all these things we apply to it. It's all experience. And so we
Mm.
either push or we pull, we push or we pull. What if we
Mhm.
just stopped and were? You know, and I think
Yeah,
that's what's the feminine way of things, you know?
it
And
is.
so it's that effortless effort. I mean, for example, I have had in the past so many, especially women, come to me and say, oh, my doctor said I have a super weak core. And I'm just like, I have the weakest core. And you know what I tell them?
Hmm.
If you have a weak core, your guts would fall out of your stomach. Like, literally, that's the truth of it. You
Yeah.
do not have a weak core. You have 5 layers of abdominal muscles. You have 2 psoas muscles, and
Mhm.
all of that is contributing to keeping everything up and in. Now, are
Right.
you accessing the strength that is your center?
Mm.
No. Let me teach you how to do that. Let me point the way to that. Once you know, that goes away.
Mhm.
Low back pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain. You've got all this blood flow, all this
Mhm.
lymph flow. All of this happens from this one little tiny kind of
Yeah.
adjustment.
Yeah.
But
So you're
to walk through your life, it doesn't matter, because if you go to a exercise, you know, fitness person, and you
yeah.
tell them that your core is weak, they're going to make you do all these sit-ups. Which, let me get on my soapbox 1 second. Never do another sit up again to anyone that's listening to me. It's really detrimental for you, and it's not using those muscles in the way that they're meant to be used. Done soapbox. Okay, so what's going to happen is these women are going to go, or these people are going to go, they're going to go to an exercise person, and they're going to still continue to think that their core is weak, because that doesn't just go away. Even if you're looking at your belly and you're like, oh, it looks strong, that mental pattern has been created, and it's still going to seem weak, because you're going to have the pain, you're going to have the back pain, the knee pain, the lack of blood flow, because it's the access that's not being corrected.
Okay. So you're essentially, rather than feeding into the idea that something is wrong with someone or that they're lacking strength or that there's a problem, you're saying, actually, no. We all have within us the ability or potential to access certain muscle groups or, access our strength. And then with that shift in paradigm, you're then teaching them how to do it. So
Correct.
really, with that philosophy, there's no problem you're trying to fix. It's just more re-educating someone.
Correct. And that's why
Yeah.
it works at the root. And I would even
Mhm.
go further than that and say that it's not just the potential that we have, it's what we already are.
Already have.
Fascia
Okay.
is,
Mhm.
yeah, our fascia is 2,000 pounds per square inch. That is
Mhm.
the fastest, I mean, that is the strongest. Think about that. That's the strength we already have inherent in our bodies.
Yeah.
2,000 pounds per square inch, layered on our entire being, from the crown of our head to our toes to our fingers. And not only that, the fascia talks to itself at a speed of 720 miles per hour, which is the speed of sound. That's what we've got going on, whether you're in a wheelchair and 95 years old or you're 2. Like, that's
Mhm.
the truth of who we are. and this idea keeping us weak and stuck and unhealthy and in a disease state is really very mental. That's why the reframe, I really start to reframe very early, because once those ideas are out of the way, our bodies effortlessly do the work.
Yeah. That's really profound, I think. And I also just wanted to ask, when you're talking about fascia, that's the tissue that connects muscles. Is that correct?
So yes, I have a lot of videos on fascia. There's a really good one on the YouTube. Let me explain it very quickly. Fascia is connective tissue. It's ligaments, it's tendons. However, we have a layer of myofascia. Myo means skin, between between the skin and the muscle, and innervated within the muscle itself. So you can think about how you would peel an orange and all the pith on the orange.
Right.
The shape stays, the round shape stays even when the skin is off. And then you take one little individual thing off, and then you see the little juiciness even being wrapped further with the connective tissue. So that's very similar to how our bodies operate, but of course we're much more complex.
Right. That's a good analogy, though. That helps me get a better framework. So thank you.
Yes.
In terms of the idea of effortless effort, and with your background in yoga and also just kind of exercise in general, I wanted to ask you maybe about the misperception lots of people might have regarding exercise, but I think this can be applied to many things in life, that we need to push ourselves and work so hard to see some kind of physical change or, benefits to our health in terms of exercise. Because I think a lot of people have that mentality. I definitely used to have that mentality that we've just got to work out so hard in order to have that healthy body or, have the results that we want. So in terms of maybe your background in yoga, but also the concept of effortless effort and doing from a place of being rather than just, go, do. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's a misperception people have in terms of exercise and health?
That's a huge, as far as exercise and health, there's no greater limiting belief. The fact that we can't heal quickly and the fact that we have to work so hard to do it. I know. Yeah. The reason why I'm here talking about this is because I've injured myself so many times pushing myself. I'm a red-headed Aries with like 8 fire signs. It's a lot, right? So I am like pushing. All the things that I've done to myself are pretty much healed in this incredible way. So yes, I think it's really interesting because you have to come to a place where you're done with that. Yeah. You have to come to that place. That's a cultural belief that we all have. We see it everywhere. We see it on TV. It's the concept of not being or doing enough, right? We see it when we get the tooth whitening toothpaste commercial on TV, or we see it when we go into a store, or we see it, all the time. Like, do. You're never good enough. You're never good enough. That's what partly drives that exercise. And the other thing, and I'll probably say some of this with Lisa over our talk on the weekend too, but no one knows that this is what almost no one knows. 80% of weight loss is through the exhale. Not through diet, not through exercise. Number one, if you have sleep apnea, or you snore, or you breathe a lot with your mouth open, and you can't lose weight even though you're doing all the healthy stuff, it's breath. There was a study done in Australia recently that showed out of 22 pounds of fat, 18.5 pounds of that melted out through the exhale. Wow. Only 3.5 pounds or whatever that is, it went out through the elimination systems. Right. So there's your effortless effort right there. Here we are. We are a weight loss culture, striving in the next diet, striving in the next exercise. I'm walking. Oh, my knee hurts because I'm walking with too much weight on it. So then you stop, you get stagnant, you get depressed, you eat again. It's this crazy cycle when all we have to do is, number one, the other stuff's important. I'm not saying that. Please don't misunderstand. Number one, we have to be looking at our breath pattern. Number one. That's the effortless effort.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely truth to that. That makes a lot of sense. And I was even talking about this a little bit with Lisa when I interviewed her, how a lot of, weight our bodies might hold on to, it's just energy that needs to be released. And any exercise, I mean, obviously there are incredible benefits to exercise, but if you're exercising really intensely, you're putting stress on your body. And so you don't need a lot more stress, right? If you want your body to be able to just let go of weight naturally. And if you look at people, I mean, even in Japan, I use them as an example just because I feel like they seem to have a lot of variety in the foods that they eat. They seem to look very healthy and just seem like they are well balanced in that way. And you see them, they might be walking or doing Tai Chi. Like it doesn't seem like they're extremely obsessed with the exercise portion of things, yet they're so healthy and they just have this flow, right? This flow and beautiful way of approaching food. At least that's what it seems like to me. And then you see people in the Western America that are just all about pushing and harder, better, faster, and thinking that that's going to achieve something. And so this concept of effortless effort, the idea that things are actually simple and natural, it's like, it's so huge. It's so freeing to be able to consider that that's actually a way of being and living. At least for me.
And the issue, I mean, I don't have an issue. That shouldn't say issue. The thing I find is that people find me when they want to release that idea. I'm like off the radar. People don't even know I exist if they are still clinging on desperately to that striving aspect. But as soon as they, I've had this with friends and family where I've been doing this for years and years, and all of a sudden they call me, they know exactly what I do, and they call me and they're like, hey, do you have time for me? Can we start this? And then it's so much quicker. It's really effortless. And then, I have a lot of people come to me and say, should I stop PT? I've got this major shoulder issue. One of my friends was like walking 3 miles a day, and she'd get home and she'd barely be able to move. And I'm like, stop walking. Because you know what? If you're not walking well, you're putting a ton of pressure in your joints. It was like, that's what we do when we exercise. We groove not only with stress, as you mentioned, but we're stressing our bodies because we're grooving into our habits far more deeply. So then we think the exercise is doing it because it's, always external, that victim idea, right? Instead of saying like, oh, well, I don't know how to hold my belly up and in, or plug my upper arm bones into my sockets. Like no one ever told me that. I don't know not to hyperextend my legs. So we're dumping. That's part of the effortless effort too, is the lightness of our bodies. Like we are part of nature. We forget this, but we watch animals, we watch birds. I mean, think about a dog running or a leopard on TV, or watching a bird alight onto a branch or fly away. I mean, it's this effortlessness. It's this light. And we've lost that because of how we are disconnected to ourselves and how we work. I always say that, somebody handed us the manual to a push lawnmower when really they should have handed us the manual to like a Porsche, right? Because that's what we really are, but we're still operating in this lawnmower manual.
I like that. That's funny, but it's so true. And I totally know what you mean by that. We think we are lawnmowers, but we're actually Porsches. That's the funny thing. We don't realize how easy things can be, and maybe even how much more effective and fast, if you want to say that, our healing process, our evolutionary process can be if we tap into that being a little bit more, that effortless effort a little bit more. It's like a whole new world opens up, or can open up.
It absolutely does. And it opens up very quickly once that long held belief of having to strive is gone. And that shows up across your whole, or across someone's entire life. That's not just an exercise thing. That shows up in
Yeah.
striving and pushing and pushing and pushing. And sometimes that shows up in pushing people away or losing jobs, or, you know, that never being good enough, never being perfect, this idea of whatever perfect is, and adding, I'm not strong enough. No. What I tell people is, yes, you are strong enough. Let's access the strength that you have.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you, April. These are some really life-changing principles, I think. And I think it's just really getting us closer to how we are meant to live, how we get to live. We get to let go and allow a little bit more, let go and let God, essentially. I mean, I was thinking to myself, we place so much value on working so hard and striving so much, like we've been talking about. But I think of the way, you know, this earth was created, the way this universe was created. And do we really think God was like working super, super hard to create this universe? Do we think he was like, you know, sweating and just like, oh, this is exhausting, this is such a pain? Or do we think, you know, everything was created in joy and love and bliss and ease and grace? Right? I mean, I think that it was created, you know, like in absolute ecstasy without feeling that pain, like, oh, life is a burden, this is hard. And I think that that applies to us. I think that we can let go and allow that to happen more. So thanks for introducing this topic. And if anyone, I mean, if you resonated with our conversation, we would love to encourage you to register for the Quantum Feminine Conference. And you still have time. It's this weekend, the 29th, 30th, and 31st. So there's a link to register in the show notes. So go ahead and do that. And April, thanks for being here today and sharing your wisdom with us. I'm excited for your talk.
So good to talk to you. Thank you so very much.
Of course. Thank you.